thank you so much for joining me today. Today is Pinkfresh Friday. On the last Friday of the month, a group of creatives get together and create using all things Pinkfresh. We're allowed to bring in some basics like flare buttons and sequins and mixed media, but we need to focus on Pinkfresh products and not use products from any other manufacturers. So today I'm focusing on Simply the Best from Pinkfresh. I will bring in a couple of other bits from my older Pinkfresh stash, but predominantly it's Simply the Best. And I'm documenting a photo from back in 2013 when we went to the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum in Northern Ireland. And in the Transport Museum, the kids saw the DeLorean, a car which is used in Back to the Future. My husband was ever so excited about this. He's from Northern Ireland and the cars were originally manufactured just outside Belfast there. So that's why it was in the museum. And he wanted to show the kids, despite the fact that they had no knowledge of Back to the Future. But he knew they would in the future. So that's why he wanted to take a picture. But they tried to show excitement anyway. So it's a picture of them standing in front of the DeLorean. So I'm just building up a mat behind them in the bottom left-hand corner. I've cut some strips from some of the papers, and now I'm creating a tag using the packaging from the Best Day. I think it was the ephemera pack. It's a beautiful grid and it's not shiny or glossy at all, so it's perfect for this. And I'm going to set down that vellum, the acetate Go See Do piece that you can see there, and that's a very old piece from Life Noted, but I just thought it worked nicely with this photo. So you can see here I'm using my hole reinforcer punch to stick a hole reinforcer on the tag, but I thought it was too pale. It didn't really stand out against the tag. So I grabbed my Candied Apple Distress Oxide ink and I'm just rubbing that around the edge of the hole reinforcer. As soon as I stick this down, I know I'm not entirely happy with it, but I just leave it there to see what happens. But you will see later in the video I do actually change that out. I think it's the red. It just looked really odd and a little bit like blood. So I didn't want to keep that there. Now I'm sticking this Go See Do acetate down with wet glue. You do see it through the acetate even when it dries, but I'm fine with that. It just adds another texture and dimension to it. So it's not a problem, but you could always use, I think you can get vellum adhesive or staple it or something like that, or stick chip if you didn't want the adhesive to show. So just continuing to build the layers now behind this photo. I'm focusing on the greys and the mustardy greens, just because I like those colours really. And you can see I'm actually using pattern paper for my background as well, go me. It's not something I do very often, but I'm trying desperately to do it a little more, get through some of my paper stash. So just going through the bits and pieces that I've got from this collection. And you can see there I've added a flare button at the bottom. That's from Hey Little Magpie. It's actually from the Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Winter Woods collection. We created these to go with that collection, but you can see they work so nicely with so many different collections, and this is just a beautiful grey. So this circle piece that I'm coming in at the bottom with is actually the word fun that I've punched out from one of the other pattern papers. Just using my I think it was my 2 1/4 inch circle punch that I used for that. So just continuing to build things up, working around the layout. This tag says stay curious, and I think that looks really nice on there. And it's at this point, can you see I'm pulling that hole reinforcer off. I just wasn't happy. So I punched another one out of a pale blue and that works much better. So just gluing that down in place of where the other one was. Didn't make too much of a mess pulling it up, so it was fine. And now coming in with my wax thread, just in a neutral beige, and I'm going to thread that through this tag, and eventually I'll also thread it through that tag at the top above the photo there. So it's about time to start gluing things down. So just pulling the photo away and starting again, building up the layers. So you can see I've got nice neutral colours there, just to make the photo stand out really, with a pop of this green. Just cutting the top off I didn't want it to go right from the very bottom to the very top of the page, but I did want it to draw your eye right the way up the page, so I wanted it to keep it fairly long. So gluing that piece down and constantly checking to see that I'm happy with the placement of the photo and things. I brought another piece of grey in. I just felt that I needed another layer at the top here. And now gluing the bottom piece. And that L is the foundation for the photo. It just nestles nicely into that. And this is a shape that I really enjoy using in scrapbooking. So slowly adding everything else. This tag will go up there, and I love that black piece that says, "So glad we did this." The shapes in Pinkfresh Studio are beautiful, and they're a little bit different from the norm as well. So gluing that tag down, and then this other one so that I can thread that twine through, as I mentioned, the wax thread. Making a bit of a mess with my glue. And then as I put the glue on there, I realised I haven't stuck the actual photo down, so I need to go in and do that before sticking that black title piece down. There we go. So now I can thread this wax thread through and just fiddle and faff a little bit to get it positioned how I want it. And then I'll use some glue just to help keep those pieces down in a bit. Just gluing these bottom pieces down first. Using wet glue all the time just because it's quick and easy. Adding that flare button. And just constantly working to get everything down before the glue dries too much and it's harder to tuck things where I've glued them. And you can see a lot of these pieces have been cut from either the 6x8 paper pad or the 12x12 papers to create more embellishments. And I decide this Stay Curious piece is better underneath that word fun. Just finishes off that little cluster there nicely. So having a quick check that I'm happy with everything. I want to add a tab at the side to add my date and also the fact that it is the DeLorean. So again, using that packaging that I cut the Go See Do tag from. Now coming in with some enamel dots, just to add to that cluster at the bottom, continue with the circle theme. Trimming off the bottom of that circle. And this is where I work on the thread, so cutting off the excess pieces and then just adding a few dabs of glue just to keep them in position. I just didn't want them to flop over the photo as the years went on and it's in the album. So that will just hold it nicely in place and it will dry clear so you won't see it in the final layout. So now adding the words the DeLorean to this tab, and then I'll use my date stamp to add the date to that same tab as well. There's plenty of room there. The date was 24th of August 2013. I still remember this day so well. I can't believe it's nearly 10 years ago now. Crazy how the time passes, hey? So now I want to focus on my journaling. I don't need to put an awful lot, but I just want to write about the fact that Ross was so excited to see them, show them the DeLorean, even though they didn't know what Back to the Future was. So I've just grabbed some pre-stamped label stamps from Ellie's studio. I stamped these a while ago using my Tim Holtz Distress Oxides. So I used 2 labels in the end to add the journaling. One in Bundled Sage and one in, I think it's Blueprint Sketch. It could be Chipped Sapphire, actually Chipped Sapphire. And then I add another circle in the same Chipped Sapphire once these 2 are down, just to complete that cluster there. So just working out where to put it to make it settle neatly against that bundled sage one. So now gluing those down now that I'm happy with the positioning and that the journaling's down and I managed to fit it all on. And then once those are down, I see that I need to add this circle. You can see it in the box there of all my pre-stamped pieces. And of course, once I get that circle down, I decide that that needs something on it as well. I never seem to stop. Always looking for one more piece. So I go into the frame set and there's a little chipboard piece that just says yeah. And I think that'll be good. So now covering up my photo and using some white paint to splatter around the edges, and that's it. So please do check the description box down below to see everybody else joining in on this hop. It really is a fun hop that we do every month, and there's some amazing inspiration from the other creatives. Do give my video a like and subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing, and I shall see you again for another video very soon. Thank you so much. Bye.